What is up, YouTube? JankyYGO here. My name is Michael, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about amazing defenders, and I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of each deck and kind of what they do. I don't really have any footage at the moment, but I do know what each of them does. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the first one. We're going to go in alphabetical order in terms of archetype, not actual card. We're going to talk about the Mikanko, and Mikankos are a ritual deck that centers around equip spells, and I have this one pulled up as their boss monster. It can't be destroyed by battle. Your opponent takes all battle damage you would from involving it. And then this is also their search spell as well. And then you can equip at quick effect speed a equip spell in a monster to an appropriate on the field, so it can be your own. The idea of this deck is to kind of control the field a little bit with your equip spells, as you have very powerful ones that kind of snatch, steal, bounce stuff, etc. And your main one of your main deck monsters is also kind of like a change of heart, as long as it's equipped. But yeah, so the gimmick of this deck is your opponent takes all the battle damage. You can use stuff like double edge sword to make it so that they which makes it so they also take damage and stuff like that. They take double damage and gives like 2,000 attack or something. It's pretty much a way to OTK. But anyway, that's not the point. Uh Anyway, we're going to continue on with this rant. But the idea is that this deck kind of controls the field a little bit if it's forced to go first, and if it goes second, it's decently good at OTK. With the, like I said, the double-edged sword and stuff like that. So they have a way to equip this from the deck. I forgot to bring up the example, but they have a trap card that as long as you control a Mikanko, you can target a monster on the field and equip a appropriate equip spell to it. So you can do it this way. So the idea is that you can equip them and steal your opponent's monsters and disrupt them that way, as well as uh, OTKing them and stuff like that. It's a really fun deck. The pros are that it's fun and it's a neat and interesting way, I think, to play Yu-Gi-Oh. I think the downside though is that uh, it doesn't really have an actual good going first thing. So I talked about it can control the field a little bit, but it's actually a lot better at breaking boards than it is doing anything else. And if you don't have the equip spells, your opponent just stops you from equipping. Your main deck monsters don't do anything. So yeah, that's some of the issues that the deck has, and uh, it has. I think right now it's maybe this deck or the next deck we're going to talk about are probably the best with the initial wave of support. And the next I'm talking about are Pearly. So Pearly is a deck full of spells and trap cards that center around this little guy. And it's none of its effects are once per turns, but you can reveal a Pearly quick play spell from your hand to special summon one extra deck that mentions that card, using it as material that's a revealed monster, and it's treated as an XD summon. For example, one of their XDs is Expertly Happiness. They have a bunch of rank ones, but they also have some rank sevens, and I chose to do this rank seven as a example. So, what does this card do? Well, oh, it has rank twos. You can use a rank two monster you control with five or more material, and you transfer its material during the main phase. You can detach to negate card effects, and your opponent cannot activate cards in response to its activation as long as it has a level 1 Pearly monster, which it will. And attacks involving it, and it has 5 or more, you inflict 1500. So the rank 2s that it talks about, I forgot to mention, or I forgot to put up here as well. They all have this effect with the equips or the quick play spells that once the quick play spell resolves, you can attach it as material to it. So, for example, Pearly Happy Memory. So it summons a level 1 Pearly from your deck, uh, and or gives an XD monster that has this as material. It can attack equal to the number of Pearly Happy Memory attached to it, 1. So the idea, so if it's attached 1, you can attack twice. This deck kind of centers around stuff like this, which has negates, and it has um On top of that, it has it has a it has like a non-targeting bounce or something like that with the other one, with the dark higher level one as well. Uh so it has a little bit of disruption and stuff like that. The issue with this deck is it doesn't really have OTK lines. It doesn't have a lot of things it can do. And yeah, it doesn't have a lot of OTK lines. It doesn't control super well, but it has a game plan and it's decently well at executing. All right, next up are the Rescue Aces. This is the last archetype we're going to talk about, and I think this one has the potential for future after Legacy support for this deck to be good because of this one card. So what does this card do, and why do I say that? So it summons itself by banishing 2 Rescue Aces from your graveyard. You special summon it from your hand. During the main phase, you set up to 4 Rescue Ace quick play spells / normal traps with different names directly from your deck. It is a very powerful card, and if any of your other card leaves because of your opponent's card, you can destroy a card on the field. It's a very powerful card, and it's very easy to summon. And with powerful cards like Rescue, lets you get your Rescue Ace monsters back, and unless you control an Hydrant, then you can special summon it instead, or Alert adds 1, or if you control a Hydrant, you can add 1 from your hand. It's a quick play, so it sets it right from the deck for you to use on your opponent's turn, refuel your hand, and then get going again with this card, which allows you to constantly set those 4 cards from your deck. Now, these keep mentioning Hydrant. Well, what does Hydrant do? Hydrant says if you control a Rescue Ace monster other than itself, your opponent cannot target it for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. You can activate quick play spells or traps to turn they were set. That was set by the effect of your Rescue Ace card. And then during the main phase, you can add 1 Rescue Ace monster except for itself to the hand. So this also is your play starter as well. I think that this deck has a lot of potential in the future to get good, but at the current time, it doesn't have what it needs to compete with the current meta. I don't think any of these decks actually do have what it takes to compete with the current meta, as the spells and traps in this deck's lineup at this current time aren't good enough at the moment. So that's where these decks are. I don't think any of them are actually good enough to compete with the current meta, and I don't know if even if Tier Limit gets gutted, and then Sprite would rise up as the best deck probably. And this deck can't compete with Sprite. It can't keep up with It can't keep up with most of the other decks in line, and none of these decks can in terms of meta. Like they would have to gut literally everything, including Labyrinth of all things, and I still don't know how well these decks would be at the moment. But these decks are all fun. I haven't played Rescue Ace, but I played against them, and I've seen videos of them, and they look like a lot of fun. Pearlies are decently fun. They kind of remind me of like a weaker Zodiac. And Mikonkos are really, really funny when you have double-edged sword, or because it just turns them into OTK machines. For Mikonkos, I recommend you can run them with kaijus and stuff to help break boards and facilitate the whole going second OTK thing. With the Pearlies, you just want to get to your rank 1 Pearly at your level 1 Pearly as much as possible. And with this deck, you really just want to get to this card as fast as possible to set up and kind of make a bunch of disruption. That's kind of what each of the decks do. The pros are that they all are kind of fun, and they're all interesting ways, I think, to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I think that the downside is that they aren't very powerful at this current point. If you care about winning, I'd probably pass on these cards and these decks. If you are competing at a competitive level anyway and care about winning, I'd probably suggest that. If your locals is like mine, it's a little more casual and there's not a lot of people, and you think these decks are cool, then you should consider playing it, playtesting online in some form of way. I would say is better than just wasting your money to see if you like it or not. That's my honest opinion. And if you do like it, then you can decide to get it. But that's going to do it for this video. If you like this kind of video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to do if you want to see me do more of this content, let me know in the comment section down below. If it is your birthday today, happy birthday. And of course, and as always, have a wonderful day.